a show, very entertaining.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know this B, it's your girl KylerB coming at you with a new video. So today we're going to be talking about Top Boy Season 3, which is also the 5th installment to Top Boy, or 5th kind of season to Top Boy, considering the fact that after the first 2 seasons on British television, they got canceled, and then in 2019 it got picked back up and brought on to Netflix. And they had a 3-season run. This is the final season, and obviously, if you watch the season, yeah, you can tell it's definitely a final one. This season was only 6 episodes when they told us this. I was just like, yeah, for a final season, you definitely need longer than 6 episodes. This is going to be a spoiler-filled video. So if you still have not seen Season 3, this final season of Top Boy, then be warned. If you don't know what Top Boy is essentially like, a start from the bottom, British, drug empire, essentially. How they, and then basically once they build that empire, who among them is the top boy. And obviously we know that the battle was between Deshane and Sully for the entire time, and essentially Deshane took over as top boy, and this season Sully took over as top boy. If you want other shows to kind of compare Top Boy to, obviously, if you ever watched Snowfall, that is what Top Boy is kind of resemblance of, kind of like a grassroots into, running a drug empire. And that's basically what Top Boy is, from the Summer House seasons, how they got their start, into these final seasons, how, they have a running operation. They're trying to expand their operation. Last season, Deshane was actually trying to retire from this business. And he essentially said that Jamie was his retirement plan. Once he's got his money and he's out, he was gonna let Jamie take over, or do his thing or run whatever he's running. So once he get his money coming in, that's fine with him, because he wasn't gonna be doing this all the time. But obviously, as you know, what happened, Sully took out Jamie, and yeah, retirement for Deshane is over with, over. And this entire season kind of basically picks up onto that. But yeah, if you haven't watched Top Boy, it's basically like Snowfall. Sully took out Jamie. He actually shot him in front of his 2 brothers, and the brothers definitely saw Sully did it. But are they going to say anything? No, they're not going to say nothing. So this season, basically, we start from the first episode. After Sully basically ends Jamie, he goes, meets up with Deshane, basically tells Deshane, I finished Jamie, and, now it's time for you to take a step back. And Deshane is just like, wow, so it's like that now. And, Sully's like, take a step back, or, yeah. So he was just like, Deshane was like, as long as I got my money, that's it. Because the same way I brought you money when I was top boy, head of the operations, you better bring me my money. So this season, Sully's running things, but that goes awry because the Irish, kind of invades that whole situation, takes out the Moroccans, and then now, for Sully's first big shipment as being top boy, it goes awry. Then he ends up basically telling Deshane that what's going on, and Deshane ends up having to come help Sully out. Sully was thinking that Deshane was kind of backstabbing him or trying to see him fall, But Deshane basically told him a thing or two. He was like, one thing about me is that I'm loyal and you're not. Like, Sully's very hardcore, very cold, and it's just like he thinks a lot with, like, very irrational. Like, he's very quick with things in terms of, like, he's not gonna let it marinate a bit, by the same. But he is pretty smart, because this season you see how, he says different things and, like, how he peeps different things, and you just see that side of him. Obviously we see Lauren and Jack, their sister relationship after Lauren took out her, the father of her child. She's in some postpartum depression. She ends up start taking the drugs that, Jack and all of them are selling. So Jack is like, warns her. She's like, yo, do not take this stuff. Like, do not take this stuff. I'm giving you this final warning. So, and noticing that, Lauren's going through this postpartum depression, she decides to take her outside, hang out with her for the day, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, the same drugs that Jack told Lauren not to take, she ends up taking. And then when she was in the bath, she ends up accidentally drowning. And yeah, so she leaves behind Jack and her son, and they have to take care of, Jack and, have to take care of the son. So Jack is going through something because she lost her sister, and, is a whole situation. Also, the whole Irish storyline, them taking out the, Moroccans, trying to basically force their way into the operation, basically saying that, Sully has the manpower to distribute what they have or whatever, they could, come into business and be together. They should expand on it, but them being taken out in the third episode was just like so wild. It's probably like one of the biggest highlights of the season. Now, obviously, spoilers are going to ensue. My thing is that this season, Deshane is out of the game. Months has passed because we see Stefan, he's in a group home. Aaron is away at university. Seems like a couple months passed since Jamie has been gone or whatever, and things like that. And then next thing you know, that's how long it's been. So Deshane and Shelly, talking about business plans or whatever, Shelly has her business, whatever. Next thing you know, she finds out that this lady is selling 9 shops, and she had the audacity to ask Deshane that these 9 shops cost $2.1 million, and if Deshane could basically front the money. My thing about this is that you're telling Deshane this because Deshane has the money because of the type of business he's in. Let that be known. He don't got no $2.1 million because he got that $2.1 million because of the type of business he's in. Okay? So she was asking him if he can basically give her the money, like, by the end of the week. And I'm like, that's a lot of money that you asking him to take out by the end of the week without you don't even having a down payment. Very, very wild. Like, what? So Deshane goes to ask Life, like, yo, I need $2.1 million now because I done gave you so much money. Basically she's the one who's holding his cash or keeping his cash, because he can't keep it on him. So she, with Lizzie, was in cahoots and basically, wanting to use Deshane's money for something else. So they stole Deshane's money and ran off and basically cut off communication or whatever. Lizzie is also an op because Lizzie and Jamie were in cahoots together with the Moroccan situation. Because I remember when Jamie wanted to get his leg up and, basically be top boy himself, him and Lizzie were like making up a plan. So Lizzie took herself out of the picture, and then I guess Life basically They took Deshane's money, ran off, and then because they had their little sub corporation or whatever that they shelled the money into a shell company, that's it. The money's gone. They can't get it back. So Jeffrey, he finds out all this situation because, Deshane was like, where's my money? You better find out. So Jeffrey has been avoiding Deshane the entire day. Which I'm just like, you should have just told Deshane in the middle of the day out of one of those several calls that he gave you and let him know what is up so you could soften the blow. Next thing you know, Deshane shows up to his house and Jeffrey delivers the bad news. Next thing you know, in an angry rage, he beats up Jeffrey and basically plummets him to death, literally. Use a steel iron cast iron or whatever, and plummet him to death. For what? The two people you should be handling is Life and Lizzie. Because what's Jeffrey gonna do? So after he basically ends Jeffrey, he decides to, take a bottle of bleach, pour it on the floor, and then that's it. He leave everything out. He didn't even clean up anything. He didn't do nothing. He just left everything out. And the thing is that in Jeffrey's house, there's literally cameras showing that you entered the house and exit the house. So you're on camera, dude. And the fact that he didn't even clean up the mess properly also shows that, what are you doing? As a person who's very calculated, meticulous, there's also in previous seasons where we see that, he knows how to clean up properly, knows how to also cut under his fingernails and whatnot. But this time where you do something like that, you leave the whole situation right in front of for everybody to see. And I'm like, come to find out he has fingerprints and whatnot. So I'm just like, dude, you could have done a better job. Or to be honest, you didn't even have to get Jeffrey like that. Because at the end of the day, he's not the one who stole your money. You killed Jeffrey for what, Deshane? That was very, very, very not smart of him. And he's usually 9 times out of 10 smart. Usually. So I'm like, what are you doing? That was the biggest fallacy with the season was Deshane basically ending up himself getting caught, because he could have been smooth sailing without that. He did not need A, to get out of town, B, to end up stealing Sully's bag of drugs as currency to get out of town, and end up, he didn't need to do that if he didn't kill Jeffrey. So I'm just like, that was such a big fallacy in the season. So with that being said, after they took out the Irish, they get the drugs because the Irish was holding them. And, Jack, she decides to steal the drugs from Sully. And Kieran, he knows about it. He finds out about it. But obviously since Jack, in the beginning of the season, they had this whole immigration plot because I guess Kieran, he was from Rwanda. And, his mother brought him into the country when he was maybe a month or less than a month old. But according to the British, police force, they're like, oh, you're still not legally, allowed to be in the country, whatever. But the mother has paperwork and stuff like that, or, she told the office multiple times, to let, he's allowed to stay in the country. But they wanted to basically dump him back to Rwanda for what? After how many years Kieran has been in British? Since he was a month or 2 old. This man does not know anything about Rwanda. Let alone, I don't think he even ever stepped foot there. But you want to send him back. So that was a whole situation. They protested. Mandy and Jack protested for him to get released. He eventually did get a release because everybody was all for him being released, and he did. That was actually a nice plot. But that also shows why Jack and Kieran are very close, because Kieran basically saw what he did for Jack and them. Well, not what Jack did for him, and his family, he basically is going to, he has her, like, he's going to protect her. So when Sully was trying to find out where his, drugs were, he's asking Karen. Karen basically come up with a lie and said that the younger kids, or like the street, like the younger kids in the operation, were the ones who probably have it because they know that he took out Jamie. Sully comes up into the house, basically like beats up the kids, and basically did all that in front of them. And I'm just like, because Kieran lied to them, and I'm just like, that was such a, like, why did Kieran do that? He did not need to do that. Anyways, Kieran thought he could trick Sully, but at the end of the day, Sully put two and two together, like, yeah, you definitely knew the entire time, and then you came up with a lie for me to, go around and do that, knowing good and well that they didn't have the drugs. So, with that being said, Sully had Kieran handled, and when I handled, he's gone. So when Jack suddenly says, like, let's put up a meetup to get the drugs back, she texts both Deshane and Sully. So, like I said, Deshane was on the run. He basically had some type of connection, or whoever that he had a connection with basically said that, there's this guy, he can get you out in the country, he can get you into, I guess, somewhere in the Middle East for you to just hide over and stay undercover and also open back your drug operation. He needs some type of money, like, right now. And Deshane does not have any type of money because A, Lizzie and Life stole his money. And he don't got no money. Like, Deshane was really in a lot of mess because he didn't have any money, and then the money that he's supposed to get from Sully, he didn't get because Sully wasn't able to sell all the drugs or whatever, so him to get the profit. So Deshane was literally broke. His money was stolen, and like he was literally about to be sent to jail if he got caught. So it was just a lot for Deshane, and then Sully basically trying to act like a big boss because, like, he told Deshane to step back. He acting like big boss, basically saying like, after this situation, I think that's the end for me and you. So I'm just like, I thought you guys were supposed to be brothers, and you telling Deshane like that's the end, because Sully always thought that Deshane never looked at him as equals and like respected him, which I don't think that's the case. But at the end of the day, that's what Sully thought. So he just like, okay, now that he has a leg up, he gonna treat Deshane like dirt. He gonna basically, keep Deshane out of the loop, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, Deshane basically jumps Jack, took some duffel bags of the drugs, and then he's on the run. And the thing about it is that there's a whole big plot because people don't understand why this whole situation at the summer house is going on. After Deshane basically invested into the summer house situation and basically got, some renovation or whatever, they basically are forcing all the tenants to move out of their house, move out of their homes. And Mandy, once again, is like, no, you're not going to force anybody to move out of their homes. This is where people live. Where do you expect them to go? So, with that being said, they protested again. So, they were protesting once again for them to not be moved out of their homes and whatnot. The police came to the scene, and I guess some kids were playing in the street, and the police basically hit and ran some little girl. So we don't know I think the little girl, she didn't make it or whatever. I don't know if she made it or not, but I don't think she made it. So with that being said, they were like, now you guys are kid killers. So with that being said, they were already protesting. So now there's a riot. Like, they fire, TV smashing, whatever. Like, it was a lot. So Deshane, he's in the summer house area. He's trying to get, his stuff in and out so he can leave the city and get on a plane and go. Anyway, he has to fight the police because the police are looking for him. Sully, who's also looking for the bag of his drugs, And yeah, so the Shane running. He running down the ends. And I'm like, yo, he running. At the end of the day, it ends up between him and Sully. And then he jumps a fence, and while he's jumping the fence, Sully shoots him in, I guess, the abdomen. And then they have this, like, very much heart-to-heart dialogue, their final ever dialogue, because, you know, very, very sad, but the Shane ends up not making it. The Shane already has heart problems, and, you know, he's on the run, he can't get no medical attention. And yeah, he didn't make it. He ends up dying in the middle of the alley, which was like the saddest ending for the Shane. But, you know, he died by Sully's hand, which is like, wow, that's messed up. Anyway, the Shane and Sully had like this heart to heart. Shane basically said that he always respected Sully, you know, after how Sully treated him, and basically said that it's basically that's after he gets his money, it's over. Like, you know, what did he expect the Shane to do? So like, oh, you should have asked me. You should have asked me. Ask you what? You weren't like, you didn't treat me like a friend or a person I can ask. Like, you were trying to be done with me ASAP Rocky. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you know, Deshane basically killed Sully ends up killing Deshane because without that gunshot wound. And Deshane never made it out. So Sully, you know, he told, you know, Jack, she was like, you know, you're not going to get a pass for stealing my drugs, and Kieran didn't either. So after Jack found out that Kieran basically got, she was very devastated. And yeah, so this whole Stefan storyline, because we gotta circle back to that. This season they focus on Stefan and also Erin. Erin is Mandy's daughter and also Driss's daughter. Driss got basically taken out by Sully, and I think the first season of Top Boy, he got taken out by Sully. And in this final season, we see Stefan and Erin basically talk. And Stefan finally, like, you know, admits that he saw Sully took out his brother Jamie. So then Erin basically says, like, I put two and two together that just one night, you know, her and her father were having dinner, and he said that he was going to be back, and then he never came back. He didn't have his shoes on or whatever, and he never came back. And she heard a familiar voice, and the voice was Sully. So basically they bonded over Sully taking out basically their close loved ones. So there's a thing. Stefan, he's trying to be a bad boy, trying to like act like he about that life when he really is not about that life, to be honest. Like, he's trying to act like he's about to take out Sully for what he did to Jamie, and at the end of the day, it didn't go anywhere. It did not go anywhere. Like, it just did not go anywhere. One of the guys who's part of the little, you know, situation gave Stefan a gun. Stefan finally, I guess, got the courage to, you know, point it at Sully and basically say, like, how do you feel, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Sully, he's like I said, he's stone cold. He just, like, he don't got no feeling. Like, after he already done took out the Shane, he's supposed to be like a brother to him. Like, what feeling he got? What feeling? Anyways, Stefan's like, you know, you're not even worth it. Sully walk into his car. I guess he finally got the 2 duffel bags of drugs. Whatever. After he basically drops his daughter off to school. Next thing you know, somebody walks up to his car, shoots him in the head, and he gone. And that was the show. That was it. Sully gets taken out. And I'm like, whoa, that's messed up. So, you know, obviously we don't know who done it, but I have a feeling that it's Jack. I just have a feeling it's Jack. I mean, I just feel like it's Jack. I mean, the way that the person walked off, and then, you know, we already know that Stefan wasn't about that life. So, yeah, I think it's definitely Jack. Jack was definitely devastated when she found out that Karen, got. Because I'm just like, Karen should have put two and two together and realized, why would Sully want me to be at the drop of, the return of the drugs if I had nothing to do with it? I would have put two and two together and been like, I'm not showing up. Sorry, no. But as soon as he showed up, admitted that he lied, he had his boy take out Karen out, drag him out the car. And we just know he's gone. He's gone. But yeah, this season was very fast paced. Because there was a lot of situations. Because what sense does it make for Jack to steal the 2 duffel bags from Sully? But I guess they wanted to put that into perspective, how since Jack's sister Lauren died from them selling the drugs on the street, I guess her stealing was for her to like put a stop to it. But I'm just like, I don't see what sense does it make. I understand she's going through her grief, but what sense does it make? Also, her interfering with the lady who had the child and who was still buying drugs. I feel like she, if anything, of her still letting the lady still buy the drugs from them, I feel like they should have intervened, because the little baby, you just gonna let the baby, the lady who's buying the drugs, that's her decision. But you having the kid who has no choice at all being involved in that situation. And granted, she was telling the lady to, pick up the child off the floor and whatnot. But that's not enough. But it is what it is. Shelly, her and her 9 shop situation, I don't know what was the whole reason with her ending it with Deshane, because at the end of the day, you knew what Deshane was about. Like, Deshane told you, especially in that argument, he was like, you knew when you were taking care of his mother what Deshane was about. Like, just because he he was at home with blood on his hands, oh, now you're scared, like, you can't have your daughter around. Your daughter wasn't even in this entire season at all. So for you to be saying that, is just like, yo, you're not being serious at all. You're just upset because he didn't have the 2.1 mil. He didn't have the 2.1 mil to give you for those 9 shops. Like, be very serious, because if you wanted to make a point, you could have made that point the previous season when you got with him. So it didn't go nowhere. It was just like very much like, what are you upset about, Shelly? What are you upset? Like, what are you upset about? You knew this man was a drug kingpin, essentially, in the UK. Like, you knew where his money came from. His money came from selling drugs. Like, be all the way for real. Be all the way for real. Because if you didn't want to be in no parts about that life, you should never had got with him. So that whole Shelly storyline was just like, you're not serious at all. You're not serious, Shelly. But yeah, that's the end of Top Boys. Kind of like a sad ending, essentially. But usually in these type of situations, usually in those situations is either, if you stay in that game long enough, you're going to either be gone or in a cell. And those are the 2 options. Deshane was about to enter a cell. But yeah, he ended up being, taken out by Sully. And Sully, he was just doing a madness. Sully has way too many ops. Like, way too many ops. When I talk about too many ops, he has way too many ops. So the whodunit situation is just like, yo, could it have been Karen's mom? But I'm like, why would anybody say Karen's mom? Like, Karen's mom over here dealing with a lot of situations. She's not about to think about taking out Sully. Like, if it's really her, I'll be surprised. But yeah, no, it's definitely Jack. Like, I definitely think it's her. Maybe, yeah, I just definitely think it's her. It's definitely not Stefan. It might be the person who, I forgot the guy's name. Is it Sai? It might be Sai, but because after Sully basically did all that to him, It might be him, but I don't think so. I just think Jack might have had that reason to. But yeah, this was very a fast paced season. The ending was basically very final. Sully and Deshane are done. I don't really think that Stefan is about that life to, continue this Top Boy situation. At the end of the day, if Jack is really serious about, she doesn't want her involvement of selling drugs, to be the reason why her loved ones end up gone, then that should also be a reason why she's not also being in the drug industry anymore. And also, if Kieran gone, I don't think there's any reason for her to still continue the business. I don't think so. I mean, she may reconsider it, but I don't think so. The Irish are taken out, so I don't think there's any really loose ends there. Deshane, like he said, he doesn't have anybody to really say bye to in London, so his storyline basically stops there. I just know that, Sully's daughter, might be upset, but at the end of the day, Tosh lives with her mother, and she knows that Sully was basically like, an occasional father. So, to be honest, she'd definitely be upset about the whole situation. But it is what it is. When you're in the game too long enough, when Deshane wanted to get out of the situation, Sully should have taken after that and be like, yeah, you're right. Let me get out of the situation. But he wanted to be Top Boy so bad, when I'm just like, no. And the thing about Deshane could have easily got out. He should have he could have got out unscathed. If if he never killed Jeffrey. If he never killed Jeffrey, and basically the whole situation was that Life and Lizzie took his money, he could have gotten out unscathed. But then again, he didn't have money to do what he needed. So at the end of the day, I guess for the storyline to adds up, it makes sense, because if you think about it, if he didn't kill Jeffrey, he didn't have a need for him to get out of London. And also, with Sully not being able to make a profit off of the shipment, Deshane ends up not having money. So in dire desperations and situations, him stealing the drugs off of Sully, off of Jack, that was going to be ending up going to Sully, basically makes sense. And the whole, chase of it all, it makes sense if you really think about it. I just think that the season could have been a little bit longer, for things to be fleshed out a bit more. I would say, I don't really think anything's too bad. I just feel like it was very much fast paced for me, because the Irish coming in the first episode and being gone the third episode was just like, what was the whole purpose of even introducing the people in the first place if you're going to take them out that quickly? But it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, guys, this is my review on Top Boy Season 3. If you haven't watched Top Boy, definitely check it out. Start with the Summer House seasons, and then, end up going to the Netflix seasons. And yeah, with that being said, if you guys like the video, comment down below, let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns, and subscribe to my channel, subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Peace.